Greetings, everyone, and what's happening? It's me, Robert Phoenix. We're back for another edition of the Astro Weather as I raise my morning cup to you. I hope everyone is having a fine and dandy day or night wherever you are. Okay, let's see what we have going on here in the old chatteroo. My man, DJ MC in the house. What's going on, brother Mike? Kabuki Theater, brother Bo. Brandy Herrera, Sin City, Sin City. Christina Jersey, greeting, CJ, Paper Dragon, Scott Jersey, right behind Interstellar Cosmic Conversation with Patricia. Hope you're doing well down there in the Carolinas. Get an update very soon from Miguel Teresa, boots on the ground. Nora Rashid, the Queen of Speed. Snowed in Albuquerque. Wow. How about that? The weather has turned. Mm. Gotta get that four-wheeler, Nora. Let's see. Sigurd Baron 2044, vote Tesla clone. I think Baron does have that lord of the solar system vibe, doesn't he? Very unusual. He's an unusual being. Last day of Pisces. Baron Trump sounds he feels mythical in some ways. PMSO. What's happening, Janine? Tom's in the house, literally. We're gonna get a little weather breakdown here from Janine. People that don't understand the desert don't understand that it gets freezing at night in the winter. Arizona has snow in the mountains now. In the desert, I spent a night in Joshua Tree in February in a tent. I would not recommend it unless you like that sort of thing. If you like that sort of thing, have at it. Uh, Remember ours here. It's a little humid today down in the Panhandle. Joan S. The lovely and talented saving Austin one tooth at a time. Road trip 1981. That's our darling. Greetings. Jerry Bowie. Hey, 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 two fingers. Got two fingers. We'll be listening today. All right. Let those fingers heal up. Janice Phillips, our Wildcat from Oklahoma, the Oklahoma Wildcat. Sigurd, I strongly recommend watching Election Meltdown video compilations with Titanic soundtrack playing. Oh, that sounds like the winner. That sounds like it's right up there with Wizard of Oz and Dark Side of the Moon. Kevin Stickevers checking in, Miss Nikki, Laura E, Joe Litkey. Joe, you know I'm gonna put that up there. Like and subscribe. Hey, we're I think at 15,600. We we ramped over. We leaped over the 600 mark. Only 400 to go till 16,000. I can't wait. Hopefully, we get there by the time I'm 70. Let's see. Amy Gill is here. Beth Berry, Hanging Laundry, Sister Song. Trump won, and SoCal is blowing and burning away. We're going to get into Trump aftermath over on 15 today. Mary Grether's here. Oh, Enya. Oh, oh yeah, Enya. Say the first Enya record. Who doesn't like the first Enya record? Who doesn't love Orinoco Flow? Let's see. George Roby, cheers. Let us have it, George. I'll do the best I can. Uh, Lynn, they had 40 inches of rain last month. Wow, it stopped raining. Last Pisces is the crew. I think we know why. I think we know why. Matt Burns checking in. Helian Hart, Rosie Liddy, Lily, and Lana Winkler. Sun Tzu, Raven Rain. What's going on, Raven Rain? Raven Rain. Chiming in from the PNC. Pacific Northwest. Good to see you. Uh-oh, sprained ankle. Ankles are tricky, man. They're tricky. You fuck up an ankle, there's lots of joints going on in that ankle. Lots of tiny little bones, lots of things going on there. Get well fast. Neil Smith, top of the morning, brother Neil. Checking in from Wisconsin, the state. Moonsprout hanging out. Do I think DJT will be sworn in without incident? Yeah, man. It's a my instincts say no, right? But I also thought that this whole voting thing was gonna be so I have to really zoom in. I gotta zoom in, put some things together here. 50 is one of my fave shows ever. I'm an addict. Well, glad. I'm glad you were into it. I enjoy doing it. It's like therapy for me. Let's see. What else do we have? Just more here. Carol Moore, good morning to you. Time change, Alexa still trying to get back. I think a lot of us are. Yeah, man. The ankles are rough. They're really rough. Oh, Ryan's here. I gotta say hi to Ryan and Osa Zulis. I'm worried about the Mars conjunct 12th house Pluto. That doesn't happen until next year. We scope that out. But we do have this Mars-Pluto opposition kicking off. Then it's gonna retrograde, right? That Mars retrograde backwards onto Pluto. Ooh, summer of, 2020 vibes, gotta say. Summer 2020 vibes. We'll get into more of that over on 15. Right now, let's get into the weather. Let's get into the weather. Changes, changes. A chain of events. Uh, uh. If I had free reign over here, I want, I would have my intro to the weather, a change in the weather by the group Maggie, the most underrated groups of all time. Here we go. There's the aforementioned Mars that we're looking at. It's at 1 degree Leo, and we wanna so it's opposing Pluto. Last night, of course, things started to kick off in some of the big cities like, Chicago. The Antiphans, the Jacobins are back in business, back in business. Revolution pays well. They still have all that money. How is Kamala Harris $20 million in debt, by the way, after the election? I don't understand that. She should have consulted with Bernie Sanders elections to enhance one's um, but I think this is what we really need to pay attention to just in general, just from a social perspective, the Mars-Pluto opposition, can be, quite violent. But let's look at it from perhaps a more theatrical perspective. Pluto down here is volcanic, right? It's 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 the 29th freaking degree, right? It is the old hoary croaking man, like, related to time. Oh, sorry. You can't see the chart. Alright. Let me get it to you. Give me a second here. Give me a second. Right there. There she is. There's that Pluto. But to me, it's also this this buildup, right? This buildup that really has started from the inception of the country, the 27 Pluto Capricorn, and it's the extended buildup, and it's everything that's gone on during that cycle of time. It's all in there, right? It's the hope, the fear, the desire, the frustration, all it's all reached this sort of, pyramidal point, and the only way to begin to empty the contents is the Mars opposition, right? And so Leo tends to be what? Very dramatic. And what are we seeing? We're seeing a replay of 2016, only it's worse. It's worse than 2016. Now, granted, I have a small sample size, but it's worse. And the reason it's worse because there were 4 years of bliss, 4 years of an oasis of not having to deal with the idea, not the actual person themselves, but the idea of Donald Trump and everything that he theoretically stands for in the White House. And now that that's over and there's no psychological reprieve, it's worse. And what we're seeing through Mars, which is very expressive, we're watching people lose their shit. And we'll have a losing shit video test over on 15 minutes just to check in how people got here. It's really it blows my mind how we've gotten to this place where people are so tightly wound and we'll use the word socially engineered to the point where a presidential election sends them into paroxysms of um, absolute what's the word? Nervous breakdown, paroxysms of um, what is it? What is it? What is it? What is it? Paroxysms of social epilepsy. That's what I'd call it. Paroxysms of social epilepsy. It's like they're having epileptic seizures. You have to wonder just how much of the drugs, and food, and the water, and the vaccines, and the frequencies have gone into creating people who are so vibrationally dysfunctional. Now, I'll say one thing. Perhaps what we have here is a group of highly sensitive beings. And I'll co-sign on that. A group of highly sensitive beings. That said, if you're a highly sensitive being, theoretically, there should be spiritual protocols for somebody who is a highly sensitive being. And the first step towards that is self-awareness. So if you're a highly sensitive being, we used to call them HSP, highly sensitive persons in New Age lingo. So you would have some self-awareness around it. And then theoretically, what you would do is you would cultivate practice so that you can, one, manage your highly sensitive state, right? And then number two, perhaps even tap into it so that it becomes an ally and not a foe. So this is what we're seeing here. We're seeing this dramatic acting out. And again, keep in mind that Capricorn, is old. Donald Trump is old. What is he now? He's 78. This is, it's not quite a youth rebellion, but it is a rebellion against all things that are related to, like, the status quo and, the system and the man, and Donald Trump is back in the day, they used to call people like Donald Trump the man. Not the man in the sense that, "Hey, you're the man," but the man had a negative connotation. The man was everything that was evil about society. The man was corporations, the man was banking system, the man was the man, right? And this is what Trump is archetyped now. He's the man. And this Mars Leo opposition is the dramatic response around all of that. Look, I'm okay if it's just dramatic. When it starts to mount into, like civil protests where they're burning shit down and looting again, I'm just not sure how much patience America has for that. What do they say? This is the hypocrisy. This is the hypocrisy of America in a lot of ways, or the hypocrisy of the system. People who are under the spell that Trump is Stalin and Hitler and Mao and Genghis Khan, all rolled into one. They have no problem talking about January 6th. But when asked about the summer of 2020, a funny look comes across their faces. They're like, "What are you talking about? Those were peaceful demonstrations." The hell they were. They were a violent desecration, like, that was it acted out upon the country and the people, and we had to sit back and watch that fucking shit. "Oh, well, they're just exercising their American rights," right? Well, guess what? There was a time when they went to the White House, and they were going to burn down the White House. Like, that was happening. That's not an insurrection. No, that's just them exercising you know, their God-given right, freedom of assembly. I'm just not sure how much patience we're gonna have for that, this go. Just saying, just saying. So I guess that the deep reflection has not really kicked in. Some people are trying to understand what happened, why, what role was being played, but there's still this blame game that's going on. It's like, what the fuck? I think we're gonna have to, like, dial in here to Neptune, and Neptune is always, always, always scapegoats, connected to illusion, and it's connected to, the projection of of Maya, really. I mean, this is what Neptune is really good at that. Be really blissful, really heavenly, really divine, and it can also just be flat out, utterly wrong. But because there's so much spiritual investment in a particular outcome, right, Neptune can be very, very powerful that way. So here we have this Venus square Neptune. Folks are asking for a mic check. I don't know why. Let's see. Let me see here. Uh, Mic check, check, mic, check a mic. All right, hold on. Okay. Yeah, okay, okay. Nope, the mic is fine. Mic volume's all the way up. It's all the way up. Podcast, PDX 400X, podcast microphone. So I turn it up even more. How about that? Shall I talk with a baritone resonance? Shall that give you a deeper connection to what I'm saying? Yeah, not sure what to say about the mic. The mic is in, plugged in. I got a good meter reading on my end. I would say probably turn up the volume, and I'll do my my best to articulate. So let's get back into the Venus-Neptune square. Right? Venus is conjunct the galactic center. The galactic center. So right now we're looking at a relationship with truth. The galactic center is what it says it is. It's the center of the so-called galaxy, where we have a so-called massive black hole, which is sucking the galaxy inward, while at the same time pushing neutrinos and all of these other interesting bits and data of light outward. So there's this balance between expansion and contraction, which holds the whole thing theoretically together. And as it is in the sign of Sagittarius, there is a pull towards the truth. Well, I'm not sure what to do about the chocolate. Should I end the show? Should I just reboot and end the show? I mean, I can do that. I'm not sure what else. I'm really not sure what else. I'll tell you what. Let me reboot, and hopefully this will work out. I mean, I'm going to come back. So I'm going to reboot, come back, and see what happens. All right. No. All right. Well, that's the only option I have. Either choppy or I reboot. One of the two. So, and I apologize for everything on my end is connected. Maybe it's them. Maybe they're fucking with my. I'll get into the blame game. It's them. If Kamala Harris would have been elected, this would be happening. My stream would be loud and clear. Anyway, this is what I'm talking about. The Venus-Neptune square. Take 3. Your voice is fine. Everything is fine. I can hear you clear. All right. Venus-Neptune square. Take 4. That's the blame game. We're in the blame game. Right? Venus and Sagittarius. Truth, order, right? Relationship to the galactic center. And then we have hyperbole on the other side in the form of Jupiter retrograde, Gemini, going all the way back to the drama of 2016. And then this is it, man, right here, this T square. Venus, Jupiter, Neptune. It is in drama, and people are looking to point their finger and find the blame. Who's responsible? Who's responsible? What happened? Oh, the next couple days are going to be over the top. Over the top. And the other thing, too, when you get into Sagittarius, see this kind of righteous indignation that Sagittarius has with it. And it's like, even in loss, even in defeat, the righteous indignation will still be there. Won't let it go. Won't let it go. On a personal level, Venus reflects all relationships. So I'm sure, most of you folks are going to run into people that have objections to what happened. And they go into some very, very deep rationalization and very deep finger pointing. So I have a very dear friend who I listen to this. I love this woman. I've known her since 1994. So we're going on 30 years being very close friends. She's a very good person, and she has, her beliefs rooted in the earth, and the animals, and the water, and the air. I would say the closest, approximation to her philosophical beliefs would be, like Native American. And she sent me this kind of op-ed from this woman, very long. I'm gonna read it over 15 minutes today and deconstruct it. It is the epitome. It is the epitome of what I'm talking about. And it's so fascinating because we're dealing with a lot of mutable energy. With mutable energy, the truth could be anything, especially with Sagittarius. As long as you're a true believer, you believe it enough, and when you write it out, it sounds rational, logical. Um, it is kind of a simulacra of truth, but it's not really true. Right? It has the semblance of looking like it's true and real. If you say things with enough conviction, and you have enough so-called data points to back then then it smells like it, looks like it, it must be it, but it's really not. So the reason I'm bringing this up because she's a dear friend of mine, and she sends me this thing, and it's like I've known her for 30 years. Like she knows what my positions are and what my thoughts are, and what my kind of overall, you know, view of so-called reality is. Even though it's editable, like I can revise my reality. And she sends me this. And I'm like, where's this coming from? And that's the Venus Neptune square, right? Like dealing with people who are fumbling. She's not fumbling. I don't want to use that word. I really love this person, but they're grappling to find the ground beneath them with what's going on with so-called reality. So we all have connections with people, whether they're immediate in our family or whether they're once or twice or three times removed, right? We have connections with people and we're running into this Venus Neptune square. And what do you do with it? How do you handle these connections with people that you love and care about who are losing their minds? I don't this may be above my pay grade. I mean, astrologically, we can come in and we can look at that Venus sextile to Chiron and compassion, and we can have empathy. We can have all the things that make these interactions with people um, water soluble. Here's the issue with that. The issue is that people are running out of patience. Right? Like the when like if you're a parent, you have a child, you're expected to demonstrate patience because kids will do stupid shit. Right? Do stupid shit, they'll do cute shit, but you have to demonstrate some degree of patience. Because if you don't, you will lose your shit at every single turn. And the next thing you know, rage is one of the anger is one of those things. Fire and starts to feed on itself, right? So as a parent, what you have to do, you have to be able to cultivate a sense of well-being, right? You have to have a practice of well-being so that when your kid does something stupid, just don't automatically lose your right. And so there's this whole thing of like self-care and making sure you get enough sleep, the right food and exercise so that you can be available for other people, your immediate family, yourself. These things are important. but as we go through these cycles that we've been in, being able to do that has become more and more challenging, right? So think of a parent who's working 2 jobs, is harried all the time, and is having to deal with, like, the assholes who are in the HOA, who's making their life really difficult for them, coworkers who are snippy and snipey, a manager who is not very good and wants to take credit for everything you've done, but when things don't go well, points the finger at you because you're the one to blame, and you're dealing with all this, and your kid acts out. How would most people respond? Not really well. The patience becomes very, very thin because of all these other factors that's in the parent's life. Well, guess what? The patience has gotten very, very, it's like now all of a sudden we're supposed to flip the Buddha switch. We're gonna flip the Buddha switch because, well, a lot of the same people who are losing their shit, crying, a lot of the same people are the same ones who chastised each and every one of us to go get the vaccine and wear a goddamn mask. Oh, and now we're supposed to take a deep breath, welcome them back into the family while they're losing their mind. This is what is expected of us. And with Venus trying to Chiron, it's not impossible. People are wounded. You can hold the space. You can hold the space for wounded people. Like, yeah, man. Like you look around, you understand that these people have been fucked with, really fucked with. The problem lies in the fact that you really can't tell them that. And you can't really, draw them a map and say, this is what's happened to you. This is what's happened to you. And I'm sorry it's happened to you. You can't hear it. So the remedy is you just have to hold space for them and realize that they're in pain. Problem is that it will bring back the child. If your child, is doing something stupid and losing their shit, right? You can say, "Oh, my child's in pain. They had a bad day today at school." And your child starts to destroy your home. What are you gonna do? "Well, I'm just gonna hold the space for my kid. I can replace all these things. It's fine. I can replace it." "Oh, yes, that's right. Smash the television. We don't need it anyway." You know what I'm saying? Right? Like, where's the line? Where is the line between being accepting and holding the space and, you know what? We're kind of over this. That brings us into the Venus-Uranus in conjunction, where this is explosive. We're in a very explosive zone right, and yes, of course, you understand people's, right? Chiron and Aries, the inability of the individual to make a difference in the world, right? Chiron and Aries. That's what it feels like. This Chiron conjunct the US Chiron in Aries. The United States going through its Chiron return. The wounded will. Well, part of the country's will is wounded. I guess another part of the country's will wasn't so wounded. These are very, very complex dynamics astrologically. We're seeing them played out. You get the moon coming up, conjuncting Pluto. Again, very intense. Very, very intense, especially in terms of, I'll tell you who's gonna take the brunt of the criticism. It's already happening. Already happening. White women. White women are gonna take the brunt. All the It's all these white women. They voted for Trump. Oh, the white women were okay when they were marching for abortions, But now the white women are demonic because they voted for Trump. The knives the knives are gonna be coming out for white women. It's the Moon-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn, and there's your Mars opposition. It's already happened. Pointing the finger at them. Well, we thought we had a statistical advantage because there's just more women than men, and aren't women more ideologically predisposed to vote for a woman, especially a woman that's going to protect their rights? Oh, no. There's a sellout group. Who is It's those Gen X white women. They're to blame. They're to blame. By the way, I put a post over on Gen X carried the day. Gen X, congratulations. This was your moment in time. This is your moment in time. The generation that got kind of squeezed out a little bit by the baby boomers on one side and the millennials on the other. Gen X, your voice was heard. Statistically, that's the data. People 40 to 64 were the largest group to vote for Donald Trump. They're the largest group. And I began to think about this. Gen X is the last outpost of individualists. I'm not quite Gen X, but I'm not a baby boomer, Pluto and Virgo, but I share a lot of Gen X attributes. Like I was an early pioneer as a latchkey kid. Like I'd come home at 9 years old, fourth grade. I'd come home. There was the house, all to my lonesome. Open the door. There I was. Okay, here we go. What do I do? That was my upbringing, and I was just like many of you. I was a free range kid. I rode my bike everywhere. Right? We just figured out how to do shit, and culturally, we are connected to a different time. Like we would watch reruns of Abbott and Costello and the Three Stooges and Mr. Ed. Right? So we're the repository of a culture that existed before us, and that's inside of us. Whereas the millennials and maybe to a lesser extent Gen Z don't really have that. Like they don't have those definitions. And a lot of millennial kids, they were the ones that got driven around. Right? Let's have a play date. We didn't do that. You walked up to somebody's house, you knocked on the door. Is so and so home? That's how you did it. Hi, Mr. or Mrs. or whatever. Is so and so home? Hey, what are you doing? You want to come out and ride some bikes, throw a frisbee, break some windows? That's how things roll. So Gen X is the last bastion of individualism. And if you look at Libra and Pluto and Libra, it is the fulcrum that sends us into Pluto and Scorpio, Pluto and Sag, Pluto and Capricorn, Pluto and Aquarius, all transpersonal. All transpersonal. So Gen X, congratulations. You stepped up. You made your voice heard. You're not the biggest generation. The millennials and the boomers outnumber you. But you were the loudest generation. Congratulations. And if you really look at some of the people who are in the mix here, let's just drop some names. Joe Rogan, Gen X. Tucker Carlson, Gen X. Jason Whitlock, Gen X. These are all people who are in the media. You may call them propagandists. Who cares, right? It's your generation. And the second election of Trump wouldn't have happened without the Gen X buy-in. So in that mix, of course, you have Gen X women. I was talking with David about this the other night. And one of the things that I would be very, very cautious with. And I'm going to rewind the tape. After Donald Trump was elected in 2016, when I was living in Austin, I would go into certain restaurants just to be seated. Okay. I was greeted with, I could see it. I could see the contempt in the eyes of the people. In this case, mostly women, because, the hostess, contempt when they seated me, because I was a personification of something that they had rejected, and their rejection didn't count. I remember this, and it happened quite frequently in Austin. I could feel the animus dripping off of them, right? I think people need to be very observant where they go to eat, where they go to sleep, where they take their parents for any extended elder care. There is a portion of our society that is really angry, and they will have a vendetta, and they will do things to take out their pound of flesh 1 gram at a time. I'm not here to spread fear. Just be very, very observant about your surroundings, about where you're dining, of anything. Now, we can't always look into each and every human's heart, but I think that most of us have cultivated a fairly advanced sense of awareness. Don't be afraid to plug it in. Okay, let's talk about our star of the day. And let's get the banner up. All right, let me just get right into the old star of the day here. So the star of the day is, of course, brought to you by True Hemp Science, your one-stop shop for all things CBD. Maybe this is what you can do for some of the people in your life that are a little jumpy right now. Hey, would you like some CBD? It's on me. It's great for your nerves. What a wonderful antidote for somebody who is agitated and anxious. I should put that out to Chris. He could put together like a post-Trump emergency CBD kit, right? Like for anxiety and anger. I think we'll do that. Maybe we put together something like that and offer a bit of a discount. That would actually be a really good promotion. The semi-jokingly attitude aside, there is something there to it, right? CBD is very powerful, and there are two. When you get into CBD, there are basically 2 schools of CBD. There's the long term and the long tail, and then there's the immediate. And Chris has the remedy for both, right? So the long term would look like something like this, like Solara. You would take this every day. You would take it every day, and you would saturate your system with it. The short term application would be something like the gummies and Starlight. By the way, I had a hard time sleeping last night, and I remembered sleep gummies. Popped them. Within 20 minutes, I was asleep. And this had been after being up for a while. So if you order $100 or more, type in 15MINS, you will get your goodie bag. If you order $150 or more, you will get free shipping. And there's always a 30-day money-back guarantee. And you can go to the website, make an appointment, find out which CBD is best for your needs or the needs of your loved one. All right, let's get into it. Billy Graham. Billy Graham. He was the pastor to many presidents. Now, a lot of people don't realize how popular Billy Graham was. Billy Graham was like the first kind of mega preacher. I mean, there were other people that were big. Amy Semple McPherson. There were other people, but Billy Graham was the guy that was synonymous with preaching the gospel of Christianity, right? And he was the pastor to presidents. Now, when you look at his chart, check out his Jupiter. It's in Cancer, and it is conjunct the United States sun in Cancer. Hello, right? Jupiter rules what? Religion, belief systems. Can you understand why Billy Graham was so popular with this country? And he's got Jupiter in the 4th house, which is Cancer's house. This is where the United States sun lives. Like, it's right there in his chart. Like, I could stop right now and just made our case for Billy Graham, right? But let's keep going a little bit here because there's some interesting things about this chart. So if we go to the 9th house, he's got his true node in what sign? That's right. Sagittarius, 9th house. He's living his chart. He is a preacher, right? 9th house, Sagittarius, rules religion. That's what he's doing. He's out there. He traveled the world. Billy Graham traveled to, you'd have these specials. Billy Graham in Brazil. Billy Graham in the Holy Land. Billy Graham from Switzerland. Like he was that guy. He's living his chart. He's living his life. He is Billy freaking Graham, right? And he has this Moon-Mars conjunction also in what? Sagittarius. And guess what? His palace is there, conjunct the galactic center. Dude had a mission. He had a mission. The galactic center was bleeping at him. You're a preacher. You're a preacher. Find the gospel. Speak the truth, right? And with the moon on the midheaven, he's one of these guys that could really see the moon captures people's imagination up at that part of the chart. It is a collective symbol of power because it's emotional, right? So Billy Graham during the day, he got cooking with one of his sermons. Look out, man. This dude could preach. Now, I'm not painting him up to be a saint, right? Because there's other things about Billy Graham that are, kind of lingering in the background. He's got his son in the 8th house. He probably made a great deal of money by doing what he's doing. He could probably qualify as, one of the first kind of mega church super preachers. And then this is all about donations and other people's money. Now, there's also a fairly prominent rumor that Billy Graham was also a Freemason. But that would not strike me as being unusual. He's got Uranus in the 11th house. And here's another thing about Uranus in the 11th house. Billy Graham is one of these guys that is kind of synonymous with TV. That's very Uranian, and it's very 11th house. He's the guy that taps into like before Jimmy Swaggart, before Kenneth Copeland, before any of these guys, Benny Hinn, there was Billy Graham. And he's the one that's pioneering media. and to get his message through the mass media. The 11th house also represents what? Groups, secret societies, right? And he's got this Sun Uranus square. Really interesting. So while he preaches the gospel and theoretically follows the word, Billy Graham is actually very rebellious. He is very, very rebellious. So there's a whole different side to this guy that a lot of people probably didn't know about, probably didn't really understand, because what he was so connected into the soul of America and all of these Sagittarian planets. You know, the astrological software of being a preacher and bringing the word with passion and vigor and Sagittarian, fire and sometimes brimstone. It's all there, right? It's all there. And he's an Aries rising. Look, he's got that Aries rising forehead. It's big, right? It kind of slopes backwards. It's a telltale sign of Aries rising. He's got Chiron in Pisces, 29 degrees, the last degree of the zodiac. And we know Chiron in Pisces is slightly heretical. There's another side to Billy Graham. You know, you could just say that he's how would I describe him? You could just say that he was kind of a cog in the sort of the public's view of religion and the sort of the Southern version, the Elmer Gantry version, right? But he's more than that. Like, there is something kind of deeply religious about Billy Graham, and he's struggling. Like, there's something about his soul that he struggled with for the majority of his life, right? This Chiron Pluto square, this Chiron Moon square, and Chiron in the 12th house, like the secret struggle with his soul. And some of the best holy men have to deal with that, right? It's the ongoing bout with temptation and the devil, and had God, have you forsaken me, right? I can tell you right now, this is going on in it was going on in his life. But he also has Mercury in Scorpio, and it's trining that Chiron, right? And so he's pulling from that. I would think that Billy Graham, even in his own sort of way, vibration, and octave, was channeling. Now, what he was channeling, that's another story. So there you go. There's your True Hemp Science star of the day, none other than Billy Graham. And that brings us to the top of the hour, which means I must bid you adieu. Wherever you are, I hope your world is molecularly intact. And in light of everything we talked about today, I'll say it again: treat each other well. Treat each other well. Use your head in order to discern what's real, your heart to step on what's possible. And have yourself a very blessed day and night wherever you are. Robert Phoenix signing off with the Astro Weather. Bye for now.